Hi beautiful people, welcome back. This is video 7 of the Little Holistic Healing series. So we've covered in the past, we've covered the emotional body, we've covered the spiritual body, and last week we spoke a little bit, or last video we spoke a little bit about the physical body and the ancient wisdom around that as a living temple. And so today I thought I'd go into a little bit now of how we can heal the physical body. So, in the past I've spoken about how emotions and negative thoughts and negative beliefs create these blockages in our energy flow and our energy centers. And then over time, they manifest into dis-ease of those organs and body parts that correlate with the particular energy center or chakra where that blockage has been kind of created. But we must also remember, like maybe in the past we could have said that 90%, 95%, 99%, 100%, I don't know, of dis-ease originates from this core reason. But these days, the truth is we are living in such a toxic world that we must also just look at the possibility that some or maybe even a lot of disease today is coming from the physical toxicity of our body. I'm not being a conspiracy theorist when I talk about the poisons in our water. The fluoride, it's known as a neurotoxin. It affects the brain. And, many people now are studying the pineal gland, which is our connection to our intuition and, part of that divine connection. And, it's been stated and with scientific fact that fluoride actually calcifies the pineal gland. And so for many of us, we're kind of going through this life very numb to those other aspects of ourselves. And this is why, because these poisons are actually numbing out our organic, our birthright of this intuition. So, there are ways to decalcify the pineal gland. So if you do some Googling, you'll find that. It's not something that I've looked into a lot because I've cut fluoride and, most toxicity out of my body a long time ago. But we're still, every single day, we're breathing it in our air. The toxicity of our air is just, for many people, if you're living in the city, it's a real threat to your health, the air that you're breathing. So we must really, take this into consideration. And especially at the moment with all of this craziness, and they're having you put those disgusting things over, the face, and instead of breathing oxygen, which is one of the principles of health. If you remember last week, the alchemy, the ancient alchemy, they knew that it was air, fire, earth and water, that we're electrical beings and we need to have our air moving. So what do you think's happening when you've got that revolting thing over your nose and mouth? What's happening is you're breathing stale air, and it's carbon dioxide, the air that you've breathed out. And so what that's doing, it's actually turning the body acidic, and acidic bodies are toxic bodies, and dis-ease absolutely thrives in that. Even our whole foods today, another, air, fire, earth and water. The earth was, they understood that we should eat these beautiful whole foods that come forth from Mother Earth, and it was said that we should only eat from Mother's table. But even our food, that's coming from nature has been so manipulated with the GMOs and the pesticides, and even organic foods. We really must question these days, how organic are they when they're dropping stuff from the skies, and, neighboring farms have got pesticides happening and the winds are carrying them. So yeah, it's a very real, concern of how toxic our bodies are without, us even having any kind of, inkling of that, because we could still be doing all of these amazing things, thinking that we're filtering our water, eating organic food. But I think for many of us, we just don't realize the level of toxicity that, you know, basically is our reality every single day of our life, unless you move out of town and, you know, get into a little bit of nature. So for me, it's imperative that we bring into our kind of, you know, lifestyle detoxification of the body. Anciently, it was understood that, as I spoke of last week, that the colon is kind of like that, you know, the dirtiest part of our body. And so for me, it really makes sense that we take extra notice of cleansing internally. And there's many companies now that have put out some great colon cleansers, and these cleansers incorporate clays that will help to draw the toxicity out of the body, but also herbs which loosen or like soften the mucoid plaque which lines the digestive tract and the colon, as I spoke of last week. And this mucoid plaque, if it's there over time, it can become very hard or very tar-like. And when that's coating the digestive tract and the colon, then those areas of the body that correlate with the reflex points on the colon, of course, they're not going to be working optimally. And I've actually worked with people, like one girl in particular, and she could not fall pregnant. And so we did the emotional healing, but of course we took the holistic approach and did all the physical things. And she did a 28-day colon cleanse. And at the end of that, she fell pregnant. She sent me a photo of this little baby and said ever since she did all of those things at the retreat, she was able to fall pregnant when she'd been trying for many years and was very disheartened. And, you know, we know it's a reality that a lot of people go off and have IVF now because of this. But for me, I always think it's such a shame that we don't have the knowledge to do these kind of steps first before we take that, that way, which is very kind of expensive. And, you know, the reality is there's a good possibility that they may be able to fall pregnant anyway once they cleanse their body and, get rid of the toxicity. So yeah, there's some great colon cleansers. I'm just going to mention a couple of names here and let you do your own research. But the 28-day one that I love the company is called Arise and Shine. And, you know, I've done that myself a couple of times. It's really, really, really incredible. And this is where I've read testimonials where people are passing this plaque and studying it, and it can't be cut with a serrated knife. Another testimonial was that a person had a walking stick at the end of that. They could walk without the stick. Another testimonial for that cleanse was someone had a shoebox full of medication. At the end of that cleanse, 28 days, they threw it all away. Another one was a lady, while she was doing this cleanse, heard this noise in the toilet and, you know, got her husband, and they started investigating it because it was so bizarre. And they found this round, like a golf ball kind of thing in the toilet. And so, you know, I don't know whether they put their gloves on, I hope so, but anyway, they're bashing it against the toilet. And it burst open into all these beautiful colours. And what she realised, the woman who had passed it, was that as a child she used to eat crayons. And so I think she was in her 40s, if I remember right. So for 30-something years, the body had stored that, and she could always feel this lump in her abdomen. But, you know, she'd have scans and no one could ever tell her what it was or, you know, really see anything. And yeah, it turned out that the body had kind of put that in her abdomen, covered it with this mucoid plaque to protect her from it. And it was only through using herbs and clay that she was able to release that and get this out of her body. Another testimonial, so that's the Arise and Shine cleanse. There's another one. Don has his own his own colon cleanse, and he's also got some amazing testimonials. I remember learning from him one day that at one of his retreats years ago, there was a lady who had been classed as terminally ill and just given a short time to live. And Don took her through a whole kind of fasting retreat, and then they did this colon cleanse using, I'm not sure whether it was his product back then, but he does have an amazing product now. But this lady passed this mucoid plaque. They investigated it and found there was like a whole cup full of liquid mercury. So once she got that out of her body, she was able to heal from cancer. There's another one called Blessed Herbs, and this was also a powerful colon cleanse for releasing that mucoid plaque. So yeah, these are just a few things to look into. For me, it makes sense that if this black tar is coating the digestive tract and the colon, then it sounds pretty simple to say that that would be an amazing place to start. Doing a colon cleanse, release that from the body, and then we start to look at the toxicity, the other toxicity, and maybe lack of nutrients in the body. So yeah, so that's colon cleansing, and as I mentioned last time, our ancestors understood how important this was. So there's also, anciently it was called the salt covenant, and our ancestors understood that they could drink a litre of water with a couple of teaspoons of sea salt, a good quality sea salt, and that would also flush through the body. And so, this was something that they did regularly, and it was just another way of keeping that internal body clean and healthy. So yeah, this is colon cleansing. Very, very imperative to bring into your healing protocol if you're suffering from some sort of dis-ease, and is just beneficial regardless of that. We can also find enema kits, douche kits, and they're just like a bag that you fill with warm water, or some people use different herbs and things, and this, you can just insert that and flush the colon as well. It's something that you can do yourself, or you can go and have a colon hydrotherapy, which is just a more professional way of doing that, and maybe a little bit deeper cleanse. So these are all ways to cleanse the colon and try and rid your body of this mucoid plaque, which stores undigested protein and all these residues of whatever's been put into that living body temple over the years. So medication residues, drug residues, processed food residues, or the chemicals and stuff like that that don't get flushed out of the body, heavy metals, which it's very imperative we get them out of the body, because a lot of times they store in the base of the brain and have it's been proven that they're a big contributor to things like Alzheimer's disease. So yeah, so definitely look into that for healing the physical body. And then we can move on to, diet. So anciently it was understood that there was only one root cause of disease, as I've mentioned, and that was chaos at the atomic level. Whereas today, where, I'm not so sure that's the absolute facts with how toxic our world is, but that was the ancient wisdom. And there was two causes of this toxicity at the atomic level, and that was deficiency and toxicity. So we've just discussed the toxicity, but also with the deficiency, for so many of us, we don't eat a balanced diet at all. We have no idea of what really is a balanced diet and what's good for us, what's not. We have no idea, for a lot of us, of how dangerous the chemicals on our foods and that kind of make up the processed foods. I mean, a lot of those foods are not even food at all. So, it's just a mixture of colours and flavours and chemicals, and so it's very imperative also that we look at our diet. And I mentioned last time the ancient raw food diet, or back then was called raw, plant foods that come forth and are enlivened by the sun, and that their belief was that, you know, we should eat as much raw as possible, or nothing cooked with a heat higher than the midday sun. So you could do a little bit more study into this and just try it out yourself and see how the body feels. There usually is a little bit of a time, if you've been eating a different way, there usually is a little bit of a time where it might not feel so good, but quite often this is just your body detoxing. So, you know, as soon as we start to eat predominantly raw, the body goes into a immediate detox. And I mentioned in the first video that our, our ancestors understood that there was fast, faster and fastest ways to heal the body. And so the fast way was raw food. So if you start to eat that way and you think, oh yeah, this is not good for me because I feel like crap, or my body's going, you know, I'm feeling dizzy, or I'm, you know, feeling sick, well, just give it a little chance, because what you'll discover is that's your body immediately going into some sort of a detox. So this is really healthy and healing, and you know, over time your body just adjusts to that way of eating, and then, you know, if you're like me, you'll discover that your body will absolutely thrive on raw foods. And yeah, every day that you're eating raw foods, you're detoxifying your body as well. So yeah, raw foods are definitely something to look into. Definitely cut out those preservatives and chemicals, and not just from the foods that we eat, but from our everyday lifestyle also. You know, check out what your washing powder and your soaps and perfumes, just check what they're made of, and you'll see that these chemicals are not designed to be, you know, on the skin, which is the largest organ of elimination, or inside the body. You know, this is not what we were designed to put into our living temples. So, you know, as I've mentioned, it was understood that only things of the highest vibration should be allowed to enter the living temple. And so that is not your processed foods, and that is not your you know, your soaps and things that have all of these chemicals. So yeah, definitely look into that, because whatever you put on your skin does get into the body, and people have proven this by just putting some garlic. If you wrap some garlic around your foot, and I think it's only within minutes, or, you know, not a very long time at all, that garlic is able to be tasted in the mouth. So anything that you're putting on your skin is getting into the body. So please, yeah, just take notice of this. There's, you know, there's beautiful oils now that you can use instead of the toxic chemical perfumes and stuff like that. So check that out. And the same with deodorants. There's even like crystals that you can use instead of the spray on deodorants and stuff, roll on deodorants. So have a look at that. That's another aspect to be very aware of, especially today in this crazy ass world that we're living in, that you know, there really is an agenda to have a sickness industry rather than the health industry. And as I said last week, I would go through the principles of health. So remember that we've got our picture of the house, which was really just the symbol of the body, the living body temple. The square down the bottom was air, fire, earth and water. This was the magical recipe to being healthy and long-lived and disease-free. So it was air, fire was sunshine, earth was the whole foods and even the clays that come from the earth, and then water was the pristine waters, the flowing waters, the high vibrational waters. So they understood that the air needed to be moving. We're electrical beings, and so this air must be moving. So even if you're working in air conditioning, if you can, just open a window a little bit. And if you can't do that, then it's been proven that a fan, just a very simple fan, is the best way to keep the air moving and will keep your body, you know, healthy and oxygenated. So So yeah, definitely take this as a consideration if you can while you're sleeping at night. Just leave a little bit of the window open, or a big bit if you can, and get that air flowing so that there's, you're not breathing stale air. And as I spoke of earlier, really look into this when it comes to those revolting things that we've been encouraged to put over our face. The fire, the sunshine, it was said that, or it was understood that every year we should get in the sun and get a suntan, and that this would allow the liver to store enough vitamin D for, I think it was something like 3 years. So, it's healthy to get into the sunshine, and we've really been taught otherwise. They also used to do the sun gazing, which was, they understood to be a very powerful way to heal the body. So when the sun's coming up in the morning, if you put your fist on the horizon, so the horizon's here, and then you only look at the sun until it reaches this point. Once it gets above that, then it's not healthy. It's not safe to look directly into the sun. And same in the afternoon, as the sun is going down, put the hand on the horizon, and you're only then looking at the sun, as it comes from this point down to the horizon here. So, and they understood that this would actually activate parts of our brain that, we could go our whole life and never have that activation. And, there's things that we know that we don't even know that we know. We know when we're born with this knowledge that for most of us will go our whole life and never actually have access to that. So sun gazing is a very powerful thing to do, and it's also very healing for the body and especially the brain. So you could look into that, as well as getting into the sun and getting a suntan. Also, I mentioned even with cleansing the chakras, you spend a bit of time in the sun and your whole energy will shift. So along with that, get your feet on the earth so that you can, Mother Earth is also very healing for us. So that's the sun, the fire, and then the earth was the whole foods, as I've just been speaking about. So if you can grow your own, or if you can find a true organic supplier that's using, no chemicals, a great water source, yeah, definitely do that. If you can't, then what Don says is that it's great just to go to your local market, and you can use a solution of apple cider vinegar. It's like 1 cup of apple cider vinegar to, say, a litre of water, and just wash your fruits and vegetables in that. And Don did a study with a scientist, and they showed the before and after, and you could not tell which one was the organic chemical free by the time they finished this little experiment. So apple cider vinegar, and get the one with the mother if you can, because it's more powerful. It's a bit more expensive, but if not, just any apple cider vinegar with water is going to help to cleanse or clear those pesticides off. Yeah, so if you can't eat organic, true organic, then this is the next best thing to do. And sometimes it's not the best option to buy organic if you're going to the supermarket and you're getting something that's come from another country or miles and miles and miles away. It's not fresh by the time that you get it, and it's been cold stored for a long time, or whatever it may be. So in that case, it's better to eat fresh, local produce. And our ancestors understood this, that we should only eat what comes forth in our area, and eat in season. So this was the way that they lived. And these countries around the world that are still long lived and disease free, if you do some research on the way that they live, it's exactly that way. They just grow their own food, and so whatever comes forth in the winter, they eat those foods. Whatever comes forth in the summer, they eat those foods. And it was actually understood anciently that there were certain different foods that would come forth at different times of the year. And those foods that came forth in the winter, they were heavier kind of foods, and they had a purpose, and that was to thicken our blood and keep us warmer. Whereas the foods in summers like the melons and, you know, all these fruits that have a higher water content, they actually, the purpose of that is to keep us cool by, you know, our blood is not so thick. And so, you know, nature is absolutely brilliant. And when we live as nature intended, you know, our bodies do survive and absolutely thrive. So if we could just get ourselves to this place of out of this crazy, crazy world that we're living in where, you know, we are being poisoned without doubt, you know, and we could start to live as nature intended, then yeah, we'd see the world changing into this beautiful disease-free society, or, you know, the way that things were meant to be for us. So, but we don't have to wait for that change. We can start taking action today and helping ourselves and helping our family to see this as the truth, just by, you know, experimenting and you know, not just being told and believing what you're being told. I don't want you to just believe me. I want you to put it into practice and then see for yourself. You know, we've been believing what we've been, you know, hearing and reading for so long without any questioning. And I really think it's time now that we start to get the optional, you know, the option to what we've been taught, what we've been indoctrinated with, and then check it out for ourselves and see if that resonates or not. So we've talked now about the air, the fire, the earth, and the water. It's also very, you know, crucial that we get a fresh source of water and not, you know, be drinking the tap water that's, you know, has fluoride and all of the other chemicals. You know, I hate to even think of how many chemicals are in our water supply. So if you can get your own distiller and make distilled water, that's brilliant. Don teaches that if you put distilled water into glass bottles and then put it out in the sun, it's only something like, I don't know, 15 minutes or a short time that all of the minerals are back in that water. So you could definitely give that a go, or find a you know, a good source of spring water, rainwater even. So yeah, this is another, definitely, you know, these days we really need to make this a huge consideration. So that's our air, fire, earth and water. But our ancestors also knew the importance of exercise. And again, if you look at these cultures around the world that are long lived and disease free, at 80 years old or 70 years old, these people are still walking up the mountain to collect their water and, you know, pick their food fresh from the garden and stuff like that. And, you know, our ancestors understood that this was an important aspect of staying healthy in this physical reality. You know, they knew that life was movement, and if it wasn't moving, then it's dying. Everything needs to be kept moving to be healthy and whole. So they knew this, and so exercise was a principle of health. Also relationships, they understood that, you know, toxic relationships, it comes back to the emotional toxicity and then the blockages in the energies centers and stuff like that. And I've myself had many people say to me, I know why I have cancer. And it's come back to that they've been living in a toxic relationship for a long time. But unfortunately for many, they don't have the courage to leave that or move, you know, away from that, mainly because they don't want to disrupt their families, or what's my family going to say, what's my, you know, how can I hurt the other person? But I've seen time and time again that, you know, when this is the case, many people die from dis-ease. They don't actually recover because they're not getting to and healing the cause. So it's a very true thing to look at your relationships and, you know, have the courage to move away from something that's not in alignment and it's not for your highest good and it's not coming from love. The last one was passion. They understood that when we live from our passion, and if we can make this our work, then most of our life we're living from this vibration of passion, which is love and fun and joy and gratitude. And from that vibration, everything flows, everything's healable, everything in the way of creation, everything manifests faster. We can, we're empowered when we're living from our passion, and everything and anything's possible. So if you can find your passion and bring this into daily life, then life's just going to be amazing. And if you are suffering from disease, if you can spend a lot of time doing your passion, it's taking you out of the thoughts of the mind. It's really getting you, into this state of joy and love and gratitude. And, from that place, life is just so much more beautiful. So they were the 7 principles of health. And so then, as I mentioned before, there was fast, faster, and fastest ways to heal the body. We've talked about the fast being the raw foods. The faster was juice fasting. So they understood that if you only take in juices, then your body has quite a lot of time that's, it's not having to focus or put its energy into digestion. So I think a juice may digest within like about 15 minutes or more, whereas solid foods is more like 3 hours. And then the fastest way to heal the body was the water fasting. And this was so powerful because water does have every color of the rainbow spectrum, so every vibration that's healing to each of the energy centers and every single organ in the body. It was also because when your body's not putting any energy into digestion, it's focusing on healing the body. It's eating away the bad cells and any dis-ease that's in the body, like in the way of lumps and tumors and stuff like that. So very, very powerful if your body's in a state of dis-ease. And it's also just an amazing way to maintain health, to stay on top of things, prevent dis-ease, rather than having to get to that point where you're having to heal something that's already manifested. So when we can bring all of this into our reality and just make it our lifestyle, then, not just healing disease, but preventing disease becomes very, 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 very probable. And we can let go of all of the fear that we've been indoctrinated with and having to run off and get something to suppress the symptoms. So it's very, very, it sounds so simple that for many people they can't believe it. It's like, it can't be that easy. But I promise you, I've seen it with my own eyes that it really can be that easy when we take a holistic approach. And we place focus on healing the emotional body, the spiritual body, and then the physical body, putting all of that together holistically, then, this was the ancient wisdom, and this is the way that we've been designed. So, please let go of any thoughts that it's too easy and it won't work for me, because it really, really will, and really, really has, and really, really can. I wanted to share with you just a couple of testimonials. So, working just on the physical body. So with Don, I mentioned in my first post that he worked with the girl Jennifer, who was only 40 something kilos when he started working with her. She'd broken her back and then was in a lot of pain, and so the doctors had cut her spinal column, and so she was, they told her there wasn't much she was going to be able to do for herself for the rest of her life, and she was only young. And so Don worked with her, and he put her on a water fast, even though she was only like 40 something kilos. And then pulse, which is fruit, nuts and seeds, and it's all to a fire ratio, and amazing product. So he had her doing that, and other things as well. But over time she healed, and her spine was fine, and she now runs and walks like all of us, and I think she has children now, and so it's the most incredible testimonial. And that was just working with the physical body. 24 karat gold and aloe vera was another product that Don has created, and I'm not sure whether he actually had her on that product, but something similar. So yeah, this is the power of our body to heal. Don also worked with another guy who was a BMX rider, and in a similar way damaged his back or broke his back, and Don supported him through his healing journey, and I think it was only months later he was back riding BMX again. So this was without any medical intervention at all. So I'm going to post the links to those testimonials at the end of this video. Please check them out and be inspired, and know that if these people can do it, you can definitely do it too.